Hey bag maker, I'm Sarah Lawson from Sew Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Sewcial Sunday, my weekly sewing chat. Hey everybody, happy Sunday and welcome to Sewcial Sunday. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us for the show. I saw everyone chatting in the comments beforehand, some on Facebook, but majority on YouTube, at least for commenting before the show. And I sort of really enjoyed the camaraderie in the comments and people welcoming friends that they've said hi to in previous shows. Janet is watching from New York, Chandra's watching from Vermont, and Tam from Northern Illinois. So hello everyone. I'm not scheduled to talk to you about too many different things during the show, but everything that I am scheduled to talk to you about I link to in the description. So if you're ever interested and curious about the things that I'm talking about during the show, just check that link in the description and you can find out more information there. And this empty chair next to me means Danny is joining me on this show for tonight, so he's making his way around. He's always making sure the technology is running as it should be, and then he joins me on the show.
Hello, everyone.
After that. Hey, Danny. So reminder before we get started, the November challenge is underway. So the link in the description is for the November challenge. Lately, every month we've been doing 2 options for the challenge, and we choose at the end of the month 2 randomly drawn winners to win $50 gift certificates to sewsweetness.com. So check that link for information on this month's challenge. And the Chickadee Backpack Sew Along is wrapping up tomorrow, so you have until the end of the day tomorrow to enter your photographs on the challenge page for week 4 of the Sew Along. And I was checking earlier and we had 100 entries, so I'm really excited to see all of the backpacks, the photographs being entered. And if you have any difficulty entering your photograph, you can always email me. I'm happy to help. And my email is sarah@sewsweetness.com, and that's Sarah with no H. Joanne says, Sarah, you look wonderful in that color. Hello to both of you. Thank you very much.
You know the reason I put that up there? I'm not going to lie. When Sarah made a quilt one time, she used like some oranges. And I like teals and greens. But I was like, the biggest hater on orange in general. And I don't really care for it, honestly. Maybe styles change, but I really enjoy orange now more often. And it's so weird. I know Sarah's shirt looks wonderful, as she always does. But I like quilts. I mean, I've seen stuff, maybe because my Bears colors, I'm like,
do you remember the quilt it was?
It was like a bright, do you remember? You had it hanging on the wall. It was like a bright orange and green.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that quilt.
Yeah, it looked like a 3D comic almost, except instead of red and blue, it was like orange and green.
Yeah, the colors were a little different than what I would normally pick. But yeah, it did have a lot of orange and green in it, yeah.
But I hey, I can't hate on everything forever, I guess. I do like orange.
Or maybe seeing it in different lights, like... I think that's why it's helpful to see pictures of a bag made in different fabrics, because maybe how I made it is not your style of fabric, or maybe the photograph just kind of hit you wrong. But if you see someone else's photograph, maybe that inspires you to...
My shirt's more of a red. Someone said it's in your shirt.
Yeah, I think because the light's reflecting off it, it looks like the same.
Yeah, we have incandescent light coloring plus natural color lights, but it causes, like, even if you look at black sometimes, it'll cause like a brownish...
Yeah, but don't you agree sometimes seeing the pictures in the Facebook group of projects
100%.
people are making, maybe you personally felt a certain way about one of my patterns, but then you see someone else make it and you're like, wow, you just feel differently about it.
Not necessarily a pattern, but definitely a color palette. 100%. For sure.
Interesting.
Let me know in the comments, what do you guys, is there a certain color you're like, I really dislike that color? Or maybe a color you changed your mind on? Because orange is a color I've changed my mind on. Now, brown is not my favorite color, but who knows?
I would say for me, historically, it's been like red.
I love red. Reds
I
and blues.
don't find myself choosing red fabrics or a fabric with a lot of red. But I think sometimes it changes based on if I see someone make, like I said before, if I see someone make something. Linda says, so whatever happened to that orange quilt? So it's a smaller quilt. So it's more of a large wall hanging type of quilt rather than a quilt to cover a person. But I do have it folded up in my closet where I keep the folded up quilts. And we do use a lot of quilts in this house, especially on the couch. When we're watching TV, there's probably right now 5 or 6 quilts over there. In the summer, I use either one or two quilts on my bed. Actually, this summer, my favorite quilt to use was a superhero quilt that I won in an auction. So that's probably one of my favorite quilts. And Violet, of course, has her butterfly fly quilts. William has one. Everyone has their own specific quilts.
Trisha said, Danny, me too. I have always, it looks like puked orange, but lately liking it. I love the emoji. It looked great.
That's funny.
I feel the same way, honestly. It's weird. It's interesting. So many different takes on what people dislike. Pretty much every color. I've seen pinks disliked, browns, navies, all different colors.
Yeah, I see a lot of different colors in the comments too.
Yellow's another one changed with me too. Yellow's got so many different variants. You can get like a yellow that's almost an orange, or you can get
That's
yellow
true.
that's like a mustard, versus like a Dijon brownish.
Yeah, that's true.
It's really crazy. Like if I look at your straps, there's two different yellows right there.
Yeah, that's true.
Very cool though.
So the quilt I was telling you about last Sunday, I'm halfway done, which I'm very excited. I've been working on one block a day, so each block you make four of the same block. Here's, in case you missed the show last week, here's the what the quilt looks like. And here's my stack of quilt blocks, and I'm super excited to make such good progress. And hopefully, I'm not going to hold myself to this, but hopefully I can have the quilt top done by either next Sunday's show or the show after. And I'm really excited to see what it looks like all pieced together, because these are not my usual color palettes.
I was gonna say this would be one I would say before I would I'm not.
I don't know if you can see it on camera so good.
It's like an aged off-white, something like if it was white maybe 100 years ago, and then
if
you
I hold
look
it
at
up
now.
to the camera, do you think it would? Is it picking it up? Yeah. It looks
Yeah,
like it.
I'm pretty sure it's picking it up.
Yeah, so the colors are just a little different. Even this quilt block I was in the middle of, like I wouldn't normally choose browns.
It's like earth tones, right?
Yeah, well, I mean they are rainbow colors, but like more muted, less bright colors. So I'm really, sometimes it's fun to use something a little bit outside your comfort zone, and I'm just curious to see how it turns out. And if it's not my most favorite quilt, it doesn't have to be, because every quilt can't be my most favorite. So
what would be earth tones be considered?
Earth tones would be
Like beiges and browns?
I guess so, like, grass, sky, trees.
Well, that's what
type
I
of
like.
thing.
Those would
Yeah.
be colors you'd find in nature. That's why
Yeah.
earth tone to me seems like a color you'd find in nature. And I could be wrong. It's not the first, not the last. For sure won't be the last.
So Danny's second favorite part of the show, when he's on it with me, we'd like to invite all the bag makers to stand proud. Let us know in the comments that you're part of the So Sweetness squad, and we're so grateful that you're here.
Yep. Thank
with
you,
us
everyone,
for the show.
for the
Yes.
support. Week after week, I go and look, and I see the likes. I see the shares on Facebook. We appreciate it. We can't say thank you enough, because we really do appreciate you, showing that you enjoy the content, and that's the way you show it, and thank you for that.
Yeah, and we really love what we do. And I was looking at the when I get the blog post ready for Sewcial Sunday, I have the links at the bottom for all the past shows. And this June, it's going to be 5 years since we've been doing the live shows, and
Wow.
it feels like it almost feels like a blink of an eye how fast it's gone.
It's gone by so quick.
Yeah.
Cindy's right.
Yeah.
That I think that hits it right on the head.
They look
It does
kind of mid-century,
Yes,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I am going to make this quilt again a second time in my usual bright colors, but this was a pre-cut kit, like I mentioned last week, and so I wanted to get the pre-cut kit because obviously you can get to sewing a lot faster.
I wonder how they pre-cut that. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're doing it with a die cutter on that. I'm assuming Moda
I'd
packaged
love to
those
see.
kits
I'm
in.
so interested in stuff, how it works and how they manufacture stuff, and I love behind the scenes stuff.
Like you'd like to
I'd
go to
love
a fabric
see
manufacturer?
100%, yes.
Interesting. I wish there was one nearby, but
Locally, that'd
Yeah.
be pretty cool.
yeah, that would be cool. Just seeing the fabrics being folded and cut. I've seen on social media from Art Gallery Fabrics them cutting pre-cuts like fat quarter bundles, or even 10-inch squares, and they have like a huge stack, and they're cutting. It looks almost like a fabric cutting knife, but like it's just amazing seeing them.
Well, it's when I investigated for fabric cutting tools, one of the cool ones, it looks like almost a blow dryer size, but it was it's hard to describe. It looks like a blow dryer handle and like the motor part of it, but it's got a blade that goes straight up and down like a jigsaw. And
Is
they're
it kind of like a turkey carving knife, like an electric?
it's an electric cutter for sure, but it looks like a jigsaw blade. It's narrow and long, and you can cut up to like 6-inch thickness of fabric.
Oh,
And
okay.
when I saw them using, because they have videos where they're showing in factory use, and they are just whipping through material so quickly. I just saw a show recently on Apple. It's that
The Shrink
Paul
Next
Rudd,
Door.
The Shrink Next Door. It starts off. They're in.
Let's back up. We just
Yeah.
started watching this show on Apple Plus. We didn't have a subscription, so we signed up so we could watch. Violet and I wanted to start watching this show. It's called The Shrink Next Door.
I got jealous and had to see it later.
And one of the main characters owns a textile factory. Would you say it's factory? A shop?
It looks like factory.
A textile shop in New York, and they're creating fabrics for customers, and they have the machines to roll everything up on the, not bolts, but rolls. And so the show is not about fabrics and sewing, but they do show a little bit of fabric and sewing machine type of views in the show. Cindy says, question, where can I find a pre-cut quilt pieces? So this particular kit was from Laundry Basket Quilts is the website. I linked to it on last Sunday's show in case you need the direct link to it. So it came in this box, and all of the pre-cut pieces were inside the box, and the pattern is sold separately. So if you're only interested in the pattern, they do sell this on the Laundry Basket Quilts website, and it's called the Alaska Quilt, and this kit is Alaska Rainbow is what that one's called.
That is such an awesome box they printed.
I mean, I have to say it wasn't the cheapest quilt making purchase I've ever made, but obviously you're paying for those pre-cut pieces, and I did buy the acrylic templates for when I make the quilt a second time so that I can use the acrylic templates to cut everything
like
out.
rationalize how that would be an okay purchase. Like how much time would be invested in cutting all those little pieces? Probably a lot.
A few days, probably a few days.
The amount of time you save in that, you could put.
I guess you
else.
just have to decide what
you value, your time versus
or
money.
I think I will enjoy cutting out with the acrylic templates the second time. That was just available, so.
Yep. And you're saying about the show though, like the guy's factory.
I think I finished what I was
Okay.
gonna say about the show. Yeah, so I think we watched 3 or 4 episodes. So they're only posting 1 episode a week, so we'll have to wait a little bit to see what happens with that. All right, let's get over to your.
There's an anniversary. I see people congratulate.
Oh, did we miss it?
They're saying happy anniversary.
Wilma, happy anniversary to you, Wilma. We just caught someone's.
Yeah, people are commenting
reply to
towards
the
it.
comments, yeah.
But I don't see your comment. I'll find it as we're talking.
Okay. Actually, it's your turn to talk now. So your pick of the week.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, yay!
I found it.
Awesome.
Happy 52nd
Yes.
anniversary.
Wilma says, I'm getting to watch even though this is our 52nd wedding anniversary. Congratulations to you.
Congratulations.
That's amazing.
That is awesome. Well, for my pick of the week, let me find it over here. Whoop. Nicole Wilkins made these Windsor pouches. And for one, the Windsor pouches look awesome. 2, her photography is amazing. And 3, I love the design of it. I mean, I like how she's using 2 different fabrics. She's meshing like a blender with the main panel. And yeah, I just loved it. It made me smile when I saw it. So great job, Nicole.
The Windsor pouch is a free pattern and video if you're interested. And Nicole did make some modifications, like Danny mentioned, to have the 2 different fabrics on the exterior. But it looked awesome. And I liked that first photo with the cute little, I don't know if it was a gnome.
Yeah, it looked like a little gnome.
That was adorable. I really liked that.
Yeah, same here.
All right. Now time for some questions. So if you have a question for me, let me know in the comments. Danny has been collecting them, but
no, I have not.
Oh, you have not?
not.
I saw you looking at the laptop, so I figured.
Well, I was putting if I saw something up or
Gotcha.
relevant, but yeah.
Anyway, if you have a question for me, you can type it in the comments right now on either Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching the show live. I know some people like to cast the show onto their TV, so if you're doing that, if you would like to ask a question, you'll just need to pull out either your cell phone or your iPad or other device. And it can be a general sewing question, bag making question about a notion or tool. Go ahead and type that in the comments right now, and Danny will be looking out for the questions. He adds them to a queue, and then we get to as many questions live as we can. Margot says, are there any bag makers here from Scotland? So if you're watching also and are from Scotland, go ahead and let us know in the comments. We'll see if we can get any.
I was gonna say, is there maybe a Sew Sweetness group?
We do have the state and country groups. So if you check in Facebook in the files section, we have our state and country groups. We call them the social groups. and you can connect with So Sweetness members from where you live. Sometimes that's helpful, especially for supplies. I think lately in the Australia group, people were asking where to get metal frames for the chickadee backpack and where to get an interfacing that's similar to something that I recommend, but they want to find it in Australia. And so in cases like that, the state and country groups are super helpful. Tam says, do you have a video on pressing with the Wonder Clips? That's a great question, and I don't think I have. I'm going to write that down. Sorry, I'm making sure I write everything down so I know after the show what I'm writing myself a note for. What Tam means, and I'll demonstrate this on a future show, but I think what Tam is asking, instead of either finger pressing or pressing the finished bag with your iron, a lot of times I like to press the bag with Wonder Clips and let the Wonder Clips sort of finger press the seams for maybe an hour or two, and you can always test this out with your fabric. So what I would do, this is the finished pouch obviously, take some Wonder Clips and just on all the seam areas, just place Wonder Clips and let those Wonder Clips sit for an hour or two, and then when you take them off, the area looks nice and crisp, and you would just work your way around the project and put Wonder Clips all the way around. And like I said, depending on what materials you use, we just sent the newsletter out today, and there was a photograph in the newsletter about using Wonder Clips also to press your seams. In the newsletter, the example bag was a cork bag, but you can use it for the other substrates as well. There you go. Anne says, is there a magic formula for figuring out the size of the lining fabric? Every time I cut the interior the same size as my exterior, it always seems to be big. I'm pretty sure it's hard for me to remember if I, some of the videos that I talk about during Sewcial Sunday, I often kind of segment them out and post them separately as a tutorial video, so you don't have to watch like an entire Sewcial Sunday show to get to that tutorial video content. I'm pretty sure I segmented this particular technique out in a separate video. So if you go to the Sew Sweetness YouTube channel and type in, I think tighter lining is what I called that particular video. I have a video demonstrating how to sew a tighter lining by starting at the seam allowance and then as called for in the pattern. And I often also will note this in the pattern instructions, and then sort of veering out to a bigger seam allowance. So for example, if you're starting with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, veering toward perhaps 1/2 inch seam allowance near the center, and then veering back down when you reach the bottom of the seam back to say a 1/4 of an inch. And so what that does is because the center area is sewn at the bigger seam allowance, it helps the lining fit more nicely inside the bag rather than looking baggy. Nancy says, do you prefer acrylic templates? So my answer for this is I usually don't, even though we have things like SVG files and acrylic templates available for my patterns. I usually don't have the benefit of working with those because we don't usually have those available until the pattern and video are finished. So by that time I've already sewn it twice, and then we come out with the SVG files and the acrylic templates, and so I'm usually not using those, not because they're not nice to use, but just because in the order of how I'm working through putting out new patterns, it just doesn't fall that I have access to those while I'm working on the bag. Sometimes I do sew a bag a third or a fourth time, but that's not something that happens a lot, and so yeah, that's my excuse for not using the acrylic templates. But you know, at least for quilt making, the quilt that I'm working on now, I do love working with acrylic templates for cutting out quilt pieces. Elizabeth says, do you use a cutting machine? I guess, you know, similar to my answer previously about the SVG files, I do have a Cricut maker. I've used it occasionally, but I don't use it a lot, and I don't usually use it to cut out pieces for my patterns. As I mentioned, I usually, for the pattern and video, we just don't have those ready yet. I'm going to grab some water really quick. Amy says, Sarah, your digital iron isn't available anymore, it seems. Is there another you'd recommend? I'm not sure if you're talking about the Panasonic iron, the cordless iron that I was talking, that I've mentioned on a previous Sewcial Sunday show, or the Singer Expert Finish Iron, email me after the show, because there was a shop that I talked to previously that had a bunch of those Singer Expert Finish Irons. So if that's the one you're looking for, and again, my email is sarah@sewsweetness.com. Pam says, how easy to use is iron on vinyl, and is there somewhere where you can easily buy lace zippers? So the lace zippers that I used for my Windsor pouch, I purchased on Etsy, and I just bought a bundle of a few different colors just so that I would have a selection in my stash. And the iron on vinyl, it's been some time since I worked with that, but I do have a free video on my YouTube channel showing how to use iron on vinyl, and it's really easy. And you can always do a little test square before you work on your actual fabric if you're a little bit nervous about it. Andrea says, what task lighting do you use in your sewing room? I find my cutting area is too dark. So, oh, this is great. This is a question for you.
Well, not really, because what you use for tasks, I think they're talking about, Sarah Diddy uses a company for lighting, and those are like sewing related lamps.
I do have well, I think they mean just in the sewing room, like what kind of lighting?
Okay, right now what you're seeing is we have 2 dining room lights that are LED lights that are almost like on narrow 1-inch strips, and they tear off into make like C's almost. So it'll be a light here, light here, light here. We have one on each side of us here. Then above us, we have Elgato key lights, and there's 3 of them, one on the left, one on the right, one in the middle, and we shoot our lights to the ceiling to give a more natural lighting effect where not harsh shadows. That's for us. Now, if you're thinking
If
for
you're
a sewing
talking
room,
about like hand sewing, I do have a OTT light. It's OTTLITE. I have it on my desk, but I don't use it a whole ton.
what I was going to say, if you're asking for an inexpensive lighting solution, if your cutting area is too dark, Amazon has these great LED lamps that are adjustable with either remote or while touching the base. I think they're anywhere from $40 to $60, and they're look at lumens to see the brightness level. I think you want to get one at least 2,800 lumens, and it will.
What is it called? Do you know what it's
I
called?
don't know. I don't even know the brand of it. I've only purchased it one time.
Oh, okay.
I don't. It's the one we have upstairs when you do for your.
Oh, that
That's
light?
the one, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so you can have it shoot to the ceiling. You can have it shoot downwards. They're all over Amazon. Just find one that's got a lot of reviews, and just check the reviews. Make
If
sure
they're searching, what would they type in the search box?
LED floor lamp.
Okay.
I think would be the solution.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Wendy says, how would you make a bag bigger, especially the width? So if you're only making the bag wider, generally the front and back of the bag, in my patterns, I call that the main panel pattern piece. If you're making the bag wider, you can add whatever length you want to the main panel pattern piece. Usually for my patterns, it's placed on the fold, so you can add that to the fold. So you want to divide that by 2 because it's a pattern piece that's basically half of the bag. So if you want the bag 2 inches wider, you would just add 1 inch to the cut on the fold area. And then it depends on what other pieces are called for in the pattern. So if there is like sort of a gusset that wraps around the sides and the bottom, you can add, because you added 1 inch plus 1 inch, that equals 2. Generally, you can just add 2 inches to the gusset area. If there's other pieces involved, I guess my answer is it sort of depends on what else is included in the pattern, what type of, if there's a panel that wraps all the way around or just on the sides or just on the bottom. But if you're only adding width, that's probably one of the easiest things to modify as far as the size of a bag. Does edge coat have an odor to it? I can't handle strong smells like alcohol markers and such. So I haven't used edge coat in a while, but I also do not like odors, even like sometimes perfumes and things. Sometimes I don't care for those sorts of things. So I know what you mean. From what I recall, I don't remember a strong smell, but generally if I'm using items like that or sprays, I try to work in a well-ventilated area or open a window if I can. I know we're heading into winter now, so that can be kind of tricky, but definitely I don't recall it having as strong a smell as like permanent Sharpie markers. Kim says, Sarah, what is your next planned quilt project? So after I finish the Alaska quilt...
It's a puffed quilt, it's called.
Oh, yeah. I'll let you talk about that.
I don't really know about it. I just know
Okay.
it's a bunch of little squares, and you take fiberfill and you stuff in each square. Then somehow you finish it, and then when it's done, it's going to be like a padded quilt And if we finish with making the other side, it's like an amazing,
Yeah,
most comfortable.
each of the squares is a separate puff. It's a free pattern from Lo and Behold Stitchery, and I think there's probably something on YouTube demonstrating that also as well. But yeah,
I found it and I told Sarah, I'm like,
mm-hmm.
I really like to do this. And I'm willing to do the work as far as telling her what fabrics I like and picking the
No,
right
you're
materials.
gonna do this 50-50.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding, of course. If I'm picking a quilt, I would 100% want to participate, just so I could say I did.
Dawn says a slideshow of the chickadee backpack would be awesome. 100 plus hand claps. Yes, I'm gonna try to. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something for next Sunday's show with the chickadee backpacks. I feel like the pictures in the Linky tool are probably going to be too small as far as pixel quality.
Maybe we do like a mosaic, like 9 pictures per image.
That would have to be a screenshot. I don't know. I'll have to think this through and see what we can do. We're going to do the best we can to show off as many pictures as possible. Angela says, are you going to do another sew along after Thanksgiving? So probably not until next year, just because, just from past
Holidays
experience, having events on the blog over holidays gets a little tricky because people are busy with preparations and other things. But for sure next year we'll have something going on. Carol says, what do you like to use to trace pattern pieces onto dark or textured fabrics that markers don't show up on? That's a great question. So either... I have both of these items over here. So I either like to use Clover Choco, which is, I only use the white Clover Choco. I don't use any of the colors. Or if I need a finer tip for what I'm trying to trace, perhaps the pieces are, there's a lot going on with the pieces and it's maybe not a simple rectangle or something I can easily draw out, then I'll use the Sew Line Trio. We have both of these in the shop, but the Sew Line Trio is comes in 3 different colors in the same pen. So there's black, pink, or white chalk, and it's a fine tip. So like I said, if it's a more detailed piece, I can get a better, I don't even know if that'll show up on camera. No, that's not picking up. Yeah, anyway, either the Clover Choco or the Sew Line Trio. Anne says, is it possible to add a cast to TV option on the paid videos? So you should be able to. So our paid videos are hosted on a website called Vimeo. And I have heard that people have casted our paid videos to their TV in the past. But I don't have any personal experience doing that because I just don't cast to a TV. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think you are using a device to cast it. I think. So if you have it on an iPad or your computer, I think you can cast it if your TV's has it built into it, like where like screen mirrors your whatever device you're using, or if you're using like a Chrome
Fire Stick?
A Fire Stick, I think you can too, but I was thinking like the Google version of the Fire Stick, which mirrors your screen.
Email us if you need help, or you can check in the Facebook group because I know people have talked about this in the Facebook group before. So if you're a member of our Facebook group, I think in the search box in our group, you can just type in cast to TV. And I think some previous posts that people have posted in the past should come up. Delva says, I think you said when you expect more Tula Pink webbing. So I think almost all the webbing, or if not all the webbing, is sold out. I was not expecting to sell out as quickly as we did. I checked with the manufacturer and they're expecting to get more in end of November, maybe beginning of December. But bear in mind, all of the manufacturers are experiencing delays, especially with getting things into the ports, into the country. And so that's just an estimate, but we do have an out of stock notification set up on our website. So if there's any product that you're looking at that we're currently out of stock, you can just click on the product listing and there will be a box where you can enter your email address, and as soon as I post that item back in stock, you'll automatically be emailed. And if there is a drop-down box in that product listing, perhaps there's different sizes or different colors available, then you'll need to choose your choice from the drop-down box, and then that out-of-stock notification box will pop up.
Laura said she used her Fire Stick browser to watch the paid content videos. Someone asked, what's a paid content video? So that is a pattern that we sell that includes a video that you purchase, like usually one of our nude patterns. And when you purchase it, it goes in your account. You log into our website. In your account, you'll have access to the video. Then from that point, you can stream it. Chromecast is working also for this. iPad and their smart TV, they cast it. So it seems like people are using it as well.
Yeah, sorry, we just don't have any. Like I said,
Our
we
personal
don't.
use,
Neither of us do that, so we just don't have any specific information for you for that.
Yeah, yeah, that's best.
Oh, post that one on the screen. Did you see that one? Right there. My grandma always watches the show, so I think she'll appreciate this comment. I just made Amma's apple cake again, family favorite. Any new Amma recipes? I can't remember if I've posted her gingerbread cookie recipe before, but if I haven't, I'll post that one soon because we're going to be making the cookies with her for Christmas probably soon. So, and if I've posted that one, I'll ask her for a different recipe.
You know, since you said hi to, I've never said, but hi to my mom. She also watches the shows, and I think I'm reading comments, and Sarah says hi.
And
to
my
family.
parents watch the show also.
Right?
So.
Sarah often says like hi to her family, and I don't even say nothing to my mom now. I feel bad about it. So hi, mom. I'll say it twice.
Cheryl says, not a question, but a huge mahalo to Sarah for her patterns, her enthusiasm, and her generous giving of her time to all of us. Cheryl, okay, so my memory is crazy bad sometimes, but Cheryl had went to her first craft fair because she was emailing me some questions about it the other day. So very exciting, and thank you so much, Cheryl. That's very kind of you to say that. I'm guessing a bunch of people will be doing craft fairs coming up soon for the holidays. So also let me know in the comments if you're preparing for a craft fair. I'm just curious to see how people are getting ready for those. Sorry, I didn't see you posted that next question on the screen. Carolyn says, I've saved up and I'm planning to buy the Juki TL18 QVP next weekend. Congratulations. I know you're going to love that machine. Yep. Are there any accessories you recommend that I pick up to start off with? So the 2 feet that I use the most often that don't come with the machine, I use a Teflon foot. I'm pretty sure Juki does not make a Teflon foot, but you can purchase a generic Teflon foot online, either on Amazon or I found them on eBay in the past. So you can just type the model number of your machine and then Teflon foot, and that should come up for the generic feet. And then Juki makes a hinged zipper foot, and I prefer using the hinged zipper foot in place of, there's a zipper foot that comes with the machine, but it is not as stable for me as far as sewing, so I purchased the hinged zipper foot and I super love it. Terry says, trying my hand at quilting, physically a pain. Do you quilt your own quilts, and which do you enjoy best, bag making or quilting? I like to alternate. I feel like the past couple of years I've alternated. I've worked on a couple bag patterns, and I've done a quilt like what I'm doing now with the Alaska quilt.
It's good to change a pace, right? Like wrap your mind something different.
Yeah, it sort of feeds my mind, and I enjoy the change of pace. And this summer I was working on cross stitch. I haven't worked on that in a while, but I like to change it up a little bit if I can.
You know what you haven't made in a while? A dress or a blouse.
I have not made clothing in a long time.
Yeah. You used to make it often.
You know what? I think for me, the clothing, I turned it into a big process because I was doing like a muslin and fitting the garment before I started sewing, and then
there's a bunch to do, right?
I was just modifying things, correcting the fit, and I think I was just trying to fit it too much, like overfit it almost. And so I think I sort of liked the process a little bit less because I was doing all that.
What's funny is when I think of a shirt, I think of a shirt like this, a jersey shirt. And when Sarah would make dresses or certain blouses, they would be out of cotton.
Which not
quilt,
stretchy.
Which is not stretchy. Stretches. Doesn't stretch. The funny part is when Sarah would be trying this on, she's like, can you help me put this down? I'm like, what kind of shirt is so hard you can't pull it down? How are you going to wear this if you can't? But that's how it is. That's the kind of material.
It was the muslin, and it was, the practice.
I would only do jersey.
The practice. So.
But hey, that's just who I am. I'm comfort.
Let's see. Do I quilt my own quilts? I have in the past, but I prefer to send it out to be long-armed. And while I have had a couple of quilts custom long-armed in the past, that costs obviously more money because of the artistry involved in that. And so generally, if I'm sending a quilt out now, I would send it for like a computerized design, like edge to edge, also called, like basically the same design.
Is that what computerized is? Edge to edge?
Yeah, so basically, say if it's, I don't know, diamonds all over the whole quilt. It's, computerized, and obviously there's work involved in getting that set up, and I'm not a long
And the
armer,
tool
so
is
I don't
very
know.
expensive too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
So that's, I have this Alaska quilt. I'll probably send that out to be long armed. Dee says, do you use a wooden clapper for pressing? I wonder if one is worth adding to my box. So I do have one. I'm going to be honest, sometimes I forget to use it, but it is helpful for pressing
Machines that
for bags.
struggle, right? When they're sewing through certain
Yes,
things.
especially if your machine's struggling with top stitching or different thicknesses, the clapper really helps a lot because you can
Flatten it
use
down.
it in combination with your iron to get it really nice and flat before you top stitch. Also good for things like quilt blocks, especially with blocks with like a lot of seams in the center.
So her question was, do you think it's worth adding to her collection of tools?
I think it is worth adding. Yes.
It's got, like, every tool's got a place, right? And when you really need it,
Yeah, and
it
sometimes
comes in
people
handy.
have their own personal preferences of things they're using a lot and things they're just using sometimes. Anne says, do you have a pattern to make an insulated lunchbox? I do have 2 lunchbox patterns. One is a standalone pattern called the Peas and Corn Lunchbox, and that's a PDF pattern only. We've not yet shot a video for that. And then in Minikin season, which Minikin season was it? I'm going to guess it was Minikin season 1, the morsel lunch bag, and that's also an insulated lunch bag. Wendy says, what do you do with small fabric scraps not worth saving? I hear it's bad to toss in the normal trash as it doesn't break down in landfills. I've been saving. I don't know what for. It's getting out of control. So larger scraps, of course, you can save them to use them for other projects or even sort of like a scrappy quilt. I have seen in the past people collecting scraps of fabric to make dog beds. When I used to teach and lecture for quilt guilds, I remember at least a few quilt guilds were collecting for charity sewing. They were sewing dog beds for shelters and filling the beds with scraps. So something like that certainly would be useful for your really small scraps as opposed to throwing them out in the garbage. If you do have a charity or some source for making something like dog beds with really small scraps, let us know in the comments. Janet says, I'm seeing a ton of cozy headbands on Facebook. Me too. It's like every 5 posts, and then I see a picture of cozy headbands. The headbands are made using cotton lycra and Sherpa. Have you made one yet? Looks like a great scrap buster project. I haven't made one yet, but I'm eyeing all those pictures and thinking maybe I should because I do have a lot of cotton lycra.
What's cotton lycra used? Is that like stretchy?
It's stretchy fabric, yeah.
Sherpa's like the white, like fluffy looking.
It's like
Like your slippers.
on some dog beds that it's not completely flat. It's kind of like
Little cotton ball looking.
cotton ball looking. Yeah, that's Sherpa. Sheila says, how did the sharpener work for your rotary cutter? It was fine. The name of the rotary cutter sharpener is escaping me. Sorry, I talked about it maybe last year or so on the show. I was happy with it, and it's a good substitute. I've talked about it on the show before. I've sent out my scissors in the past to a website called simplysharper.com. And so you can either do something like that or get an at-home sharpener where every once in a while you run your rotary cutter through it and it has sort of, not stones, something inside for the sharpening of the rotary cutter. Diva says, I'm using cork for the bottom panel of a purse. Do you need to use interfacing or just the cork by itself? So it depends on how much structure you need for the bag. Generally, I am using the same interfacing for cork that's called for in the pattern, such as foam interfacing. Since you're talking about the bottom panel of the bag, you might want to use the same interfacing as called for in the pattern just because the bottom panel takes the most weight out of the bag, and it might be nice to have that extra structure, especially in the bottom. Where can you get a clapper? I have one and use it a lot. I want to get one for a friend. So we don't have any for sale on our website, but I know my friend Vanessa from Crafty Gemini does. I think I saw her recently get a shipment of the clappers in stock. So her website is craftygemini.com, and I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure she has those clappers in stock there. Shirley says, when will you stop filming Sewcial Sunday this fall? We don't have plans. I think the rest of the year we're good to go for every single Sunday, as far as I'm
What
aware.
about Christmas?
I don't think Christmas is on Sunday this year, is it?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I honestly,
But
I
I'd
haven't
take a
looked.
whole week off for Christmas.
No.
Let's see you do the show without me, huh?
We did take a break over the summer, so I'm just anticipating just a short break every summer. Sierra says, do you prefer the friction pens or the markers? So I've been using, I'm going to be honest, we sell in our shop both the friction pens and the friction markers. I've been using the friction pens for so many years. I just still use the friction pens, but the markers are good, especially if you need a bit of a bolder line to see to cut out your pieces. Either is a good choice. Question, I bought my Juki after the giveaway. One recommendation you had was the heavy plate. Do you keep that on full time? That's a great question. Yes, I purchased from my Juki the plate for thick fabric, and I just took off the plate that came with the machine and put that new plate on there, and I just left it on there. It's still fine for sewing quilt blocks. I haven't had any issue with it. Dawn says, I made 28 different pouches for Christmas gifts this year. Had so much fun. That's wonderful, and I imagine it's a really great feeling inside knowing that you made these gifts yourself and you took the time to choose the fabrics, sew the projects. I don't know, sometimes when I think of gift giving, I am a little bit torn, like buying things, which maybe people may or may not need. I don't know. I sort of struggle with that, but like a handmade gift that someone made you, I use tons of handmade gifts on a day-to-day basis. Like a few weeks back, I was talking about those bowl cozies that I use after I warm my soup up on the stove. I use those basically every day because I have soup for lunch most days, and just handmade gifts are really, really awesome.
Yeah, someone sent me a desktop cube set made out of Doctor Who stuff, and I'm using it for
Ethan.
for the cords and stuff like that.
Yep. Diane says, what bag pattern is on your right with birds on orange background with pink circles? Oh, sorry. Our screen is mirror image, so like what looks like behind me on the right is really on the other side. This fabric is from the Florida fabric line, and it's designed by Sarah Watts, and you can find it. If I'm ever looking for a fabric and I'm not sure especially how widely available it will be, I always search on Etsy generally.
Jessica asks, what's a good pattern of yours to teach my local quilt guild? They all want to try a bag, but none have done them before. I'm an intermediate bag maker. They all be buying the pattern. Well, I think the best one, I'll say this before Sarah gets it in, would be a free pattern called the Baker Street bag. It's an excellent, get your foot in the door, test out the bag making skills, and get your confidence up to try another one, which we have many free. Or if you want to pay whatever suits the need you're trying to fill. We have a lot of options for sure. Sarah, would you?
I was going to say the same thing.
I'm glad I said it first, because I was going to say the same thing too.
You know, I feel like, and I'm not trying to sell this particular pattern, I was just, maybe it's just one of my favorites, but I feel like I don't see people make it a lot, but the Creative Maker supply case is really good for either a gift for a child or even one for an adult. So if you're making the Creative Maker supply case, the large size fits either a notebook, a coloring book, a sketchbook, and there's places for lots of markers or colored pencils. And then I made one for Danny a few years back. I think I made the medium size for your
Incork
e-reader. Is that what?
Yeah.
With the correct Kindle and some charger cords and things. So it's a really quick project for me, like 2 to 3 hours of sewing time, and sort of instant gratification, because for some of the bags they take several hours, and this is a quicker project, and I think has a lot of uses.
Honestly, I love the way that it feels. It's got a cork finish on the back and both sides. It just feels so premium. I like the way. I just like to touch it sometimes. It feels so nice. I don't know why, but some of the corks just feel so nice to the touch. And that's all the questions we have for this week.
All right, on that note, I apologize if I did not get to your question live. I see you still had a lot of questions in your queue, so I will be back again next Sunday answering more questions. And of course, every other Sunday we're rotating either Danny on the show, or I have my full show of a tutorial, book review, notion of the week, all that. So that will be next Sunday. Let's see. Did I announce I don't think I announced last week's winner yet. In case I didn't, the winner of last week's giveaway was Lori Lewis. So congratulations to Lori. Please email me after the show so that I can get you set up with your prize. And my email is sarah@sewsweetness.com, and that's Sarah with no H. The giveaway for today, and we randomly draw a winner out of all the comments on the show. We combine them, Facebook and YouTube. And the prize for today is this panel from Moda. Let's see if I can hold it up closer to the camera, if that'll pick it up. There we go. So this is a panel from Moda. I know it's a little bit shiny looking. It's a 57-inch by 57-inch panel with poinsettias on it. And it would be good for either a backing for a quilt, a smaller quilt, a whole cloth quilt, meaning like if you just wanted to sew this right sides together with another fabric, or even a
piece of minky, as I always recommend. With
Danny loves minky quilts. Or
they're just, when you go to grab a quilt, let me just say this. 10 out of 10 times, myself and my kids will grab a quilt that has a minky back to it over a non-quilted quilt. Even though the quilt I'm using right now on my bed is a non-minky quilt, it's just because it's an awesome quilt that Sarah made. But if I had a minky choice to throw on it, maybe like with some staples, which maybe I'll do, and I'll staple some minky right on it, and it'll be perfect.
Or one other thing I was going to say, or this could also be for maybe a tablecloth if you have a table that would
That's
fit
a good
for.
idea, yeah.
So that's the giveaway prize for this week. So
you know what's be good too?
What?
A present bag.
That for a huge present?
Well, you're gonna have to have two pieces, right? So it'd be cut in half.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I
Okay,
guess so.
maybe not.
I was gonna say you're gonna cut through the
I was gonna
writing.
say pillow, but it's quite huge.
Yeah, it's a big piece. It's a big panel. I have an extra question for you that you can answer in the comments to give you an extra method of entry. My question is, I don't know, I was thinking about this earlier. What temperature was it by you today where you live? I think it was in the 50s in Chicago
34
today.
degrees right now.
Oh, 34, much cooler than I thought. Okay.
Who's had snow so far yet? I saw it yesterday and I was like, sorry for getting this in late, but
That's okay.
first, I love snow. I love the start of winter. It made me happy. I smiled. I turned my Christmas music on, and you guys have a great night. Sarah?
You sort of caught me off guard how you ended that. Thank you so much for watching our show. I hope you have a great week and happy sewing. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.